Hey everybody, welcome back to CAF's Heroes of Sport. My name is Bob Babbitt, and every week we get to interview some of the greatest challenged athletes on the planet. Right now we get to chat with CrossFit superstar, Mr. Jedidiah Snelson. How you doing, Jedidiah?
I'm doing great, Bob. How are you?
I am spectacular. I love your background. So you split time between a chicken ranch in Washington and a heifer ranch in Idaho. So you're a farm boy.
I did. I grew up a farm boy, which for me was something I didn't super enjoy, like the farming life, but I'm grateful for the work ethic it taught me.
So when did you find motocross and motorcycles?
Right around, it was funny, I always had a dirt bike because of farm stuff growing up, but I didn't really do it until I was 16. I happened to come across a race on TV one day and it just hooked me.
You know, it's cool when it comes to supercross and motocross. One of my best buddies is a guy named David Bailey. And,
Oh yeah.
And David was David and Ricky Johnson and Johnny O'Mara and that whole era. Those guys were and they all trained as triathletes, which is my background. So there was a connection there right away. So as a motocross guy, were you one of those guys who was training, understanding you had to train for motocross, or training outside in weights and running and cycling, that type of thing? Or did you focus specifically on just riding?
So it was kind of a blend of both. And that's kind of in that sport what I was known for. I did race and whatnot, but I was never like natural ability wise that great of a guy on the bike. But I'm always extremely fit and I lasted the whole moto very well. And so it was a blend of, putting in enough time to have the endurance on the bike, but then also doing some CrossFit style workouts or some different circuit training and whatnot, working on fast twitch muscle response and balance and different things so that I could be a little bit faster and stronger on the bike to be able to use the full potential of my abilities.
Were you doing supercross as well? Were you doing stadium events or mainly motocross events?
So a little of both. I always relate it to baseball as far as like trying to explain to where I was. So I was at the level, I was like a minor league athlete. So I did a lot of the smaller stadiums called arena cross, where it was like, the stadium, the Portland Coliseum, the stadium, the Jazz Stadium down in Salt Lake, like those sizes of arenas is what I raced in. So it was a really tight, small track. And then all through the summer and whatnot, I did a lot of outdoors.
And is it something that, because you were racing for 21 years, 17 years racing, and then 5 years, 5 years as a pro, that's a lot of racing.
Yeah. So I started out and like I said, I was hooked right away. And so I really like pushed myself to progress in the sport. And I spent 17 years racing. And then I spent 4 years after that as a strength and conditioning coach in what I would really on the major league level or with some of the factory guys and whatnot. So,
and you were working with, pro motocross, MMA, snowmobile, X Games guys. How did you adapt the workouts? Because these guys, they're all so different in terms of some are so fast twitch than others need a little more endurance. How did you adapt?
So a lot of it was off the bike training was trying to build a level of strength and then also trying to build a level of just enhance their skills. So it was a lot of like circuit stuff. We did a lot of training like on balance balls and whatnot, trying to do different movements while balancing at the same time, because essentially that's what you're doing on the bike or on the snowmobile or, some of the freestyle guys. It was all about that understanding your body and the feel of where you were in a spin or a trick. And so it was just really trying to refine those skills. All the endurance work was done on the bike or on the sled and just putting time in on those. And then, like all the office stuff was just, like I said, building your strength or your skill so you could be faster or, and really maximize your potential speed wise.
So January 2014, you're at the track. What happened?
So I was just there for a local winter race here in Boise. We have a sand track as well, and so a lot of times, even when the weather is bad, we can race that track. And unfortunately, they drugged the track or whatever, but it was during one of our inversions where we kind of get a socket of weather for like 2-3 weeks. It was below freezing, and so while the track was drugged and it was, the sand was a little looser on the track, everything off the track was frozen solid. It was like 2 and 3. And what happened was I got a little loose coming on a downhill and got thrown off the track, caught a ledge where it threw me off the bike. And unfortunately, where I landed and hit was like basically like landing on concrete. And so, yeah, it did me in.
Paralyzed from the waist down. And had you had much exposure to, in all your training, working with wheelchair athletes, or was this a brand new enterprise for you?
No, that part of it was completely foreign to me. I mean, I feel grateful that I had the fitness background and the understanding that I did, which helped me kind of progress. But
yep.
I started looking for stuff right away as far as trying to find ideas that specifically applied to paraplegics or people in wheelchairs.
So after you're injured, how long did it take you to get to the point of, okay, I got to find sport again? Because, at the beginning, it's figuring out how to make your house accessible, how to do the day-to-day things. When did you get to the point of, okay, fitness is my life, I need to get that back?
Honestly, it was right away. I take it a pride in, like, with everything I did as a strength and conditioning coach and working with pro athletes. Like, I understood and had a lot more in-depth knowledge as far as there's this whole mental side that a lot of average athletes don't think about. And so going through that, I had taken a lot of time to really dive in to understand even how I worked as an individual and what drove me and what kept me sane. And so as soon as I got hurt that first week sitting in the hospital, one of my thoughts was, if I'm going to overcome this, I know I need to find something to channel that competitive drive that I have right away. And so at that time, for me, honestly, I thought I was going to get into downhill mountain biking. I thought it was similar. I knew it existed in the adapted world. I thought it was very similar to motocross. And so it was my intention to get into that. But I knew in order to do that, I needed to get a certain level of fitness and, stability in my strength first before I could just hop into that. And so that was really my drive. And so with that, like trying to find different fitness ideas as far as to just build my strength, I came across CrossFit, adaptive CrossFit through Wheelwad organization and whatnot. And then, in the meantime, I found out I could compete in that. And so I did an online, the Open the first year with a worldwide competition. And when I went through that first competition, I realized that that's really where I was supposed to be. And I was hooked from day one.
Now, you ended up CrossFit Fireside. Is that your facility?
No, it was one of the gyms that I trained at for a while. The gym you see me in now, this is my own facility that I had. But yeah, I was working at CrossFit Fireside with some other coaches for quite a while.
So creating your own facility, how and also just the whole idea of CrossFit, for adaptive CrossFit. How advanced was it when you first got into it? Because when CrossFit was first created, they didn't really have an adapted side at the beginning.
No, so the first year that I did the Open was the first year that they took it outside open to the public. There was a few individuals in trying to develop the adaptive side that had done it a couple years before, but that first year of the Open that I did it was the first year it was like an online, like, open competition for other adaptive athletes to get involved. And then I've been involved since they had the first games, which was our world championships in 2016. And so I've been fortunate. I've really been a part of helping develop and really grow the sport. That's
always cool when you're in at the ground floor of something like that. Talk a little bit about when people come to you, because I'm sure a lot of people come to you after they've been injured, and the conversation you have with them in terms of how important this CrossFit is going to be in their life.
What I've learned about the adaptive CrossFit is it's huge. In my opinion, from everything I've seen and everything I've experienced, is it's really the best foundation from a fitness standpoint for anybody in their life, able body or adaptive.
Right.
It really is functional fitness. And when I see, because of that functional fitness and that strength that I have, the independence I have in my life versus, other paraplegics in similar situations that don't do it, even when I look at able-bodied athletes, just regular individuals versus regular individuals that do CrossFit, and the functional strength that they have in their life that makes, day-to-day activities so much more, easier. It's incredible. It's incredible the impact it can have on life. So it's one of those things I can encourage a lot of individuals to try and at least experience, whether they have any inclination to ever compete or not, it doesn't matter. That's not what CrossFit as a whole is about. It's about building, functional strength and health that just makes day-to-day life easier.
Has there been one or two athletes who came to you and they really had no idea where this was going to go, and you've seen massive changes in how they've gotten into CrossFit and it's changed their life?
Several individuals. One story is somebody that's a T3, has been in a wheelchair for 19 years, and then she got into CrossFit, and after 6-8 months, just to give you an idea, in that 19 years, she never really got out of her chair for anything. Yeah. And then after doing CrossFit for a while, seen a picture of her. She's sitting on the beach outside of her chair on a blanket, just, able to hold herself up, able to balance, just enjoy life, do experience more because of that strength that she never had before, that she now has.
Well, the reality is, for a lot of people, for your able-bodied community, CrossFit is great, but in terms of the adaptive part of it, for somebody who's in a wheelchair, it's a necessity, right? Because you just transferring from your everyday chair into a chair or into the car, that's a lot of strength. I mean, that's adaptive CrossFit. So what you're doing is so important for these athletes.
It is. It's, I always tell people, living life in a wheelchair is a lot of different series of awkward movements. CrossFit as a fitness regimen is a series of awkward movements. So you're literally mimicking stuff that you're going to do in day-to-day life. And it's one of the gals that I first started out with, she made a comment. She's like, this is so much like when I was in physical therapy. And I'm like, exactly. It's just physical therapy 2.0, because it is so functional in what we do.
When you look at the guy in 2014 who woke up paralyzed, and to the person you are today, how are you different?
The biggest thing it allowed for me is God gave me the ability to really slow down and examine a lot of other parts. Everything that I had done in my life up to that point had measured me, or was internally measuring myself and my abilities, on outside accomplishments, on physical abilities and all this stuff. And what it really did was it allowed me to, look at me as an individual from an inner person, from a person, in how I dealt with my relationships and everything on a day-to-day basis. And it really allowed me to examine myself and work on refining, the other parts of my life. And I'm very grateful for that. It's helped my relationships with my family. It just puts things in place priority wise. And that's something that's helped me a lot.
So when did you connect with CAF?
I think about a year and a half ago is whenever they opened their Idaho chapter.
Yep.
I was reached out to, yeah, and I had known a little bit about him. I've had the fortune, I know David Bailey a little bit. Always spoke highly of CAF, and he has some connections here in Idaho that I've had the opportunity to meet with him and have some conversations about stuff. And so I knew about it, and so when it came directly to Idaho, it allowed me to connect with them and be able to take part in some of the activity experiences that they've hosted here in Idaho.
So you've been doing some of the winter sports stuff too?
Yeah. Actually, it was last week or the week before. Yeah. we went Nordic skiing, and that was a great opportunity. I spend a lot of time on a ski erg for CrossFit, but I've never, being out on the snow, totally different experience. And it was great.
Now, do you have any CrossFit stuff? Obviously, this year's been crazy, but in 2021, will you have some CrossFit competitions that you'll be going to?
I do. We do have our games, which is our world championships, which right now is scheduled. The first stage will be in June, which will be online, and then the second stage will be in November, which will be a live competition. And so hopefully, God willing, everything will improve and that'll go through. Have a couple other smaller events that hopefully will take place, and then we have for the first time, the CrossFit. Actual CrossFit organization is opening the CrossFit Open. They're going to have 8 different adaptive divisions that will actually be inclusive to allow adaptive athletes to compete with CrossFit, not just like the wheel wad stuff that we've had ourselves, but actually be a part of CrossFit. And so that's something we're encouraging any adaptive athlete, whether they've ever partaken in CrossFit or not, to just get involved in, because while the CrossFit Open is, there is some competitive nature to it, as a whole, it's not about the competition. It's about a celebration of fitness and just bringing communities together and having this opportunity to do these 3 workouts over 3 weeks as communities. And so, the CrossFit world has been very exposed to the adaptive athletes. And so whether you are in an area where a CrossFit gym has had an adaptive athlete before, they're very aware of this. They're very aware of the resources. And so any adaptive athlete can go into a CrossFit box and yeah, they're open to allowing you to come in and experience CrossFit.
I love it. Hey, Jedidiah, thank you so much for taking time and chatting, and thanks for everything you're doing with CAF Idaho up there, man. I just love seeing the growth of adaptive CrossFit, the growth of just more people aware of CAF up in Idaho, and more kids finding out that sports can be great, even if you're in a wheelchair or if you're missing a leg or an arm, doesn't matter. Sport is for you. Are you seeing a lot of athletes, not just wheelchair-bound athletes, but athletes who are missing limbs as well?
Yes, we are. In fact, those divisions have grown exponentially as far as, like I said, there's 8 different divisions. We see, amputee athletes, we see neuro athletes. It's grown exponentially and helped all those individuals in the same way it's impacted us in the wheelchair in our lives. So it's been great.
Love it. Jedidiah, thanks again for taking time and joining us on CAF's Heroes of Sport.
Thank you guys for the opportunity. My pleasure.
Jedidiah Snelson has been our guest, everybody. Again, CAF's Heroes of Sport. My name is Bob Babbitt. We'll catch you next time. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.